Hello, it's your boy Davidoff. Don't ask how this tree is still up. Everyone's got COVID in this house, so no one's got the energy to take it down. Yeah, so we have got the energy for this. We got another one of these from Jagger Skillbeck. He's got a great channel. This video is how Port Adelaide nearly changed the AFL in 2014. I think this is based on that prelim in 2014, which is quite a good game with Hawthorn. Yeah, I hope it's more of a. I hope there's more of like what if Port Adelaide won. I hope I see more of that because we saw quite a bit of that, like that GWS video where they could have got dusty, but one kick changed everything. It changed like the trajectory of so many clubs. I want to see that sort of thing rather than the St Kilda video. That was a good video as well. It was a good, informative video, but I want to see more of the what if side. What if this happened? Either way, whatever we get, I'm looking forward to this video. Let's do this.
To their 4 consecutive grand final appearances in the 2010s, Hawthorn had to overcome a plethora of preliminary final roadblocks. In 2012, they hosted a thriller against a firing Adelaide outfit at the G, with some Surioli magic scraping them over the line in a 5-point win.
Just
in
about.
2013, they had to free themselves from the Kennett curse against Geelong.
Same score.
Quarter fight back from the Hawks secured a famous triumph in one of the defining clashes of a storied modern rivalry.
We had some
And
classics
in 2015, they knocked
with
off
Geelong.
Fremantle in Perth, footy's hardest road trip. But despite that, amidst all their challenges they faced in their penultimate fixtures, none were quite as unique as the nail-biting final 10 minutes of the 2014 preliminary final against Port Adelaide. In many ways, Port had an opportunity to change the AFL landscape that night. But before we reflect on one of the most exciting finishes of the modern era, it's important to know how this power team, 2 years removed from a 14th place finish, even made it to a preliminary final. And it's a journey that began on the most humiliating day in the club's history, September 29, 2007. Kane Corn said in a 2016 appearance in AFL 360,
that grand final that I always forget about.
6 years.
It feels like it's the most forgettable grand final ever.
Burgoyne may have made amends at Hawthorn, but the collective firm of Warren Treadray, Brett Ebert and Chad Corns were never truly able to shake off the lingering burden of the loss. An era defined
It was a
by
pretty
regular
bad
season
loss.
dominance in a maiden they dropped to 13th in 08 and would continue their downward descent into the 2011 season, where the franchise stooped to a new low. They became the first team to lose to the expansion Gold Coast Suns on home soil and would finish the year in a measly 16th.
I don't remember seeing this.
After the 2012 season,
I mean, I wasn't watching back then anyway, but
Coach Matthew Primus was
they were the first to lose to Gold Coast at
If the
home.
club had endured enough, it was in their off-season Las Vegas footy trip where the true tragedy would strike.
First tonight, the tragic death of young Port Adelaide AFL player John McCarthy.
John McCarthy's death shocked the footy world, and more so sent an already struggling organisation into a dire predicament. In the same week where the club lost stalwarts Daniel Pearce and Troy Chaplin through free agency, Port announced former Geelong player Ken Hinkley as their new coach. Hinkley was an assistant coach for the Cats in their reign of dominance in the late 2000s and was serving as an assistant for Gold Coast when Port executive Keith Thomas came calling. Apparently, every offer had been rejected until a text from Geelong's Andrew Mackey convinced Thomas that Hinkley had changed his mind, willing to jump at the power in spite of their unfortunate position. Although some old campaigners had been lost in the playing group leading into the 2013 season, there was still a solid young core to work around with star Robbie Gray, sophomore Chad Wingard and their first round draft pick Ollie Wines. Accommodated by Bob Westhoff, Angus Monfries and Jay Schultz all hitting their peak, this upstart team was primed to return to the finals under the hard-on-the-sleeve leadership of Hinkley.
There's a few things I get from these videos that I just didn't know. I didn't know Hinkley was working at Geelong. I had no idea. Maybe I should know that.
But if there was truly a moment to pinpoint this team is legit realisation, it came during the round 14 home game against Collingwood at Amy Stadium.
The heat's on in the kitchen. Oh, look at this. Good attack from Galapati Carlo. He left his man. He took them on against the lines. Oh!
Nice.
Port cruised to a flogging on that night and sent out a warning to the rest of the competition. This comeback story had substance. It would be impossible to talk about Port's 2013 campaign.
Didn't end in a flag though.
Mentioning the classic round 19 showdown against Adelaide. This is where the fixture peaked. The Chad Wingard.
That was the Wingard one.
The Angus Monfries off-spin game, whatever you want to call
This.
it. What an insane finish.
Was that the game in the crazy
Wingard's
bounce? Yeah, it
performance
was.
is
Yeah.
still his highlight to date. It was
That game was
only
insane.
The final say with the match-winning
That was
goal.
insane.
And as Tim Watson stated,
They won't keep him out of the All-Australian team.
Port travelled to Melbourne to take on Collingwood in week 1 of the finals. In spite of their regular season heroics, they were once again billed as the underdog, facing the competition's most experienced side away from home with a little knockout game credential amongst their younger members. Once
Of course
again,
they'd be the underdog then. There's the context.
Going forward before point. Wines. He's kicked the goal. This time he's got it. There's the answer.
Collingwood
Doing well at this point though.
Footy Port in the last 8 to 10 minutes of the game. Pendlebury's kicked it out of bounds on the full.
and the resurgence of a former laughingstock had been established with a final.
What a win.
Although they bowed out the next week in a tight clash with Geelong, this rejuvenated Port team hadn't lost any admirers. In abidance with their reputation, they refused to lie down in the final term. A late miracle goal by Justin Westhoff provided...
I guess there's an improvement on 2007.
Stephen Motlop shut the gate on the Powers season.
To the pocket, Westhoff.
That was incredible, that.
Although they couldn't scrape into the Final Four, the seeds had been planted for another September run in 2014. But amidst all the off-field contributors, the true stroke of genius lied in the choice to play the masterwork that is NXS's Never Tear Us Apart, encapsulated the fighting spirit of that team and solidified the club as an innovator in the modern game.
It's pretty good. Second to the Tigers yellow and black at the end of their games.
By the time the ball had even been
If they
passed.
win.
People tend to forget just how viscerally fun this team was to watch. Ken Hinkley utilised Hamish Hartlett's right leg as a weapon. Jake Need and Matt White looked dangerous every time the ball was in their hands. Wingard was doing Wingard things, and Tom Jonas caused many a squib contest from his opposition. You could see hints of the late 2000s Cats in their style of play courtesy of Hinkley, yet they were younger. Even in the purple patch, the question was how good will they be, as opposed to how good are they. And considering they didn't lose a single game by over 5 goals for the whole year, they were pretty solid.
Yeah, not too bad.
After demolishing the Tigers, Port took on Fremantle in the semi-finals, where they faced their biggest setback of the season. Down 46-15 in the second quarter, and with the season hanging in the balance, Robbie Gray's 4-goal third
46-15.
classic comeback.
Didn't have a good start,
It's a final
but
that doesn't get talked about much, yet it resulted in one of the games of the year.
they had a great second half.
Ones bobbed up to hit the scoreboard again with 3 majors. Jared Polak once more staked his claim as the recruit of the year, and the back 6, namely Pittard and Broadbent, stood up when the heat was on. Despite Michael Walters' best efforts to salvage Freo season, it was a late gut-running Wingard goal to send the South Australians onto their first prelim berth since 2007.
And then Hawthorn came along.
Hawthorn in front of a 75,000 strong MCG crowd, and they were all treated to an absolute thriller. There are only a handful of matches in the past decade that remain seminal in terms of their effect on the league's history, and this was one of them. Should Port Adelaide walk out of Punt Road with a victory, the Hawthorn dynasty is over. And if the Hawks prevail, the power legacy restricts itself to a mere flash in the pan.
Live action from the MCG.
Final underway, Hawthorn and Port.
This game showcased top shelf quality on both sides of the footy. From the big first quarter collision between Duray and Matt White to an Angus Monfrey's mark running back with the flight, the sheer courage of both teams stood out massively on the big stage. And for all of Port's efforts, the quality of the home side's response in the third term was unflappable. Roughhead produced arguably the finest match of his career with a 6-goal bag, Will Langford 29 possessions and a gritty one-on-one battle with Boak, who accumulated 33 of his own. And with the Hawks holding on to a 5-goal lead at the start of the final term, the power were on the ropes, and it looked as if their season was ready to die. And in spite of all the last...
And I guess it did die.
all the magical late moments they'd conjured up thus far, and all the hurdles they'd overcome, nobody thought Port could pull off one last upset.
And they didn't.
Hot crowd.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they had a good end to that game.
From 55 meters. It's right.
Yes!
It's there. I think it's a goal.
Yeah, it is.
Stopped. Port are back within 4 points. They're back within 1 straight kick.
Credit to them, though. They looked down and out.
Capitulated in the space
If they
of
had
5
started
minutes
games
and
better,
one
you know,
missed
you
kick
never
away
know.
from blowing their stranglehold on the competition. But with the power running out of time,
'Cause it had
their
quite
late
a few
charge
comebacks.
quickly turned to haste.
Mark Ebert, he doesn't waste any time. Brilliant smother Hodge. Oh, look at Jonas go in. What a bounce. It'll be a big kick.
They had a whole minute to get a goal.
Monfrey's
We just held on. Just.
25 seconds to go. 5 seconds. 2 seconds.
Oh, I thought he was going to play holding the ball.
Hawthorn has made the grand final. Hawthorn have won.
The dynasty was that close to ending. That close. The three-peat was that close to not being a thing at all.
The comeback story didn't get its happy ending. And unfortunately, they changed for the worse after that final. They missed the finals back-to-back and fell victim to Luke Schuer's.
This was one of the best games I've ever seen.
With that being said, 2019 was certainly a step in the right direction performance-wise. Blooding the young talent of Rosie, Dersmar, Butters and Drew will provide longevity and quality to a lineup of a club that just needs to balance their on-paper talent with some consistency.
Then they got 2 prelims. Although they were poor in both of those prelims.
The 2010s have had its Cinderella team in the 2016 Bulldogs. It can be easy to overlook the depths of despair that Port crept out of to provide some entertaining footy in the middle of the decade. But the history books will forget them due to their lack of silverware. Having said that, it's still important to reflect on the teams that everyone rooted for. Their time near the top was short-lived, but that Port team came within a kick of restructuring the entire AFL.
Yeah, they could have still lost the grand final though. You never know. It was a really good video. But once again, I would have liked to have seen the scenarios. Like if Port did win that, how could the AFL have been affected? It would have been quite interesting because you wouldn't have got a Hawthorn three-peat. I just feel like it would have been cool to go into that a bit more. But I do like how this is like very informational. But my favorite video of him was definitely this. I mean, it's the highest viewed one, so I guess people actually know it's not. The one we just watched has more views. Okay, but this is still my favorite. This is still my favorite. Just how this was done, because like he basically changed how a kick went, and then he just went through all the scenarios of what would have happened or what could have happened, and it affected like half the league. It was insane. So I would have liked to see a scenario where if Port Adelaide did win that game, how could the AFL have looked like? I would have preferred that sort of video, but that was still a good video though. That was still very good, and I definitely learned a few things. There's a few things that I didn't know at all, especially at the start of the video. I'm just like, Port were the first to lose to Gold Coast at home. Hinkley was at Geelong. I don't know some of these things, so yeah. So I think it might have been this. What if Gary never got injured? I think this might have been a request. I might do it next week or something, but yeah, if I don't do it next week, then it'll be A4W tips, I think, round 2. But yeah, I'm just waiting for the season to come round. I think it's March as usual, right? I assume it's all back on. No, there's a lot of crazy things going on in Australia right now, but yeah, that's it from me today. This is your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. I did like the video, right? Yes, I did. And goodbye.
Cause